Bismillah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Continuing with the Madinah Arabic 1 reader, we completed the text for lesson number 8 and we were on the exercises. So we're going to continue with those exercises from lesson number 8. So let's have a look at lesson number 8 and continue with the exercises. You should have been translating and writing up these questions here. We were on exercise number 3 where it says read the example and change the following sentences on the same pattern. So let's have a look at that and give that a go now. So it says, here's the example. It says هذا كتاب, this is a book, all right? Then it says هذا الكتاب لمحمد, this book belongs to Muhammad. So there's two sentences there. And as you can see, there's a difference between when I say this is a book and when I say this book is Muhammad. This is a book, right? This becomes the subject. A book is the predicate, the khabar, right? In that sentence, it comes after is. But when you say this book is Muhammad's, I belongs to Muhammad, right? Now this book altogether is the subject. The word after is becomes the predicate, li Muhammadin, right? So that's the difference between the two sentences in terms of the meaning, right? Now, what about in terms of how it's formed in the structure? Let's have a look at the Arabic here. It says, هذا كتاب. This is a book, right? This is singular, has tanween on it, and it's also without alif and lam. This is a book. But when you look at here, this book, okay, the book here now, it changes. What's happened? You've added alif and lam to make it definite. Because you have alif and lam, you drop a tanween, and then you finish the sentence. هذا الكتاب. If I just held up this book, I said هذا الكتاب and paused, I haven't completed my sentence. You're waiting for more information, right? I can say هذا الكتاب, and this is a book, and I'm speaking to the students for someone that doesn't understand, right? Someone that doesn't, I'm teaching English, for example, I'm teaching that, this is a book. I'm trying to teach them the vocab, teach them words. That's why this is used at the beginning of this book to teach vocab. You say هذا قلم, this is a pen, right? You're showing. By showing and saying the word, the student learns it. But now that you've taught the word, now you want to teach information about the book. They know the book. You say هذا الكتاب لمحمد. لمحمد. This book belongs to Muhammad, right? So now this book becomes definite already, and that's why it's got alif and lam at the beginning of it. So what happens? What changes? You've got the rest of the sentence here. You're going to take this word هذا طبيب. This is a doctor. You're going to change it to make it match this sentence. This doctor is from India, right? What do? Number one, add alif and lam at the beginning of the word. Take off tanween and put a single dhamma because you can't have al and tanween on the same word, right? So it becomes at-tabibu. The rest of the sentence, min al-hindi. At-tabibu min al-hindi. هذه السيارة للمدير. This car belongs to the mudir. Remember this lam, we're going to see it in a minute, is a harful jar. So it's a preposition and it makes the word after take a kasra. So it changes and it has the meaning of belonging to. It's called lam of tamlik, of ownership. Let's go to the next one. ذَلِكَ وَلَدٌ. You can add alif and lam. Take off the tanween, single dhamma. Ibnul mudarrisi. ذَلِكَ الْوَلَدُ ibnul mudarrisi. That boy is the son of the teacher. تِلْكَ السَّاعَةُ. You have to have a shadda. Take off tanween. Min Suisra. It's from Switzerland. The last grammar point in this lesson is this. When you have a word that has an alif at the end of it, either alif mamduda or an alif maqsura like that, like the word mustashfa or mustafa. If you have a preposition before, you can't show a kasra. The word stays fixed. It doesn't change. That's why even though you have min at the beginning, you might be wondering, okay, where's the kasra? There's no kasra there. Why is there no kasra there? Because this word ends with a alif. So if it ends with an alif mamduda or maqsura, then you can't put a kasra on that word. هذا قلم. هذا القلم لعباس. and so on and so forth for the rest of the exercises. Then you go to exercise number 4. It says read the following example, then make questions and answers on the same pattern. It says liman hadha al-kitab. Okay, now you want to ask questions. You've got a book, you pick up a book. Say liman hadha al-kitab. Whose book is this? Right, so you start off with the question first up, because that's what the information you're trying to find out. Liman. Liman is made up of 2 words. Li and man, who. So it's like saying for who, for whom, or whose. Liman hadha al-kitab. Whose book is this? Right, or whose is this book? As you like, or whatever sounds most natural in the English language. That's another tip. When it comes to translating from one language to another, you're translating into a target language, you have to not just have knowledge of both languages, but also have knowledge of the nuances of the differences between the languages, so it sounds natural in the target language. So whose book is this? Or whose is this book? This book belongs to Abbas. This is Abbas's book. Or this book is Abbas's, right? That's if you're speaking about a book. But here you have pictures. So I can look at that picture and say, Ma hadha, what's this? Ma hadhihi, what's this? Because it's feminine. Ma hadhihi, because it's feminine, right? I can say, for example, Ma tilka, what's that? Ma dhalika, what's that? Ma dhalika, what's that? Right? So, هذا قلم القلم لعباس. هذا مفتاح هذا المفتاح لعلي. هذه السيارة للمدير. Right? هذه البقرة للفلاح. Right? For this cow belongs to the farmer. هذه الحقيبة للمدرس. This bag belongs to the teacher. هذا الكرسي لعمار. هذا ديك لبنت فلاحي. Li comes before bint, so it makes it take a kasra. Al-falah takes a kasra because it's considered it's the mudaf ilayhi, and the mudaf ilayhi is always majroor. And in this example, the sign that is majroor is a kasra at the end of the word, and that's the primary sign for words that are majroor. You have more examples. As-sa'atu, the watch. Al-baytu, the house. Al-mindilu, the handkerchief, right? That's more examples. You do these sentences yourself and see how you do. Make sure you write them down so you can practice your handwriting. This number 5 is speaking about words which have a alif ending, right? It has an alif ending. That looks like a ya, but it doesn't have 2 dots. So if it doesn't have 2 dots, then it's an alif. It's not considered a ya. It's called alif maqsura. So a word by itself, for example, al-baytu, except these words, al-mustashfa, look. Because it's got an alif afterwards, the letter before is a fatha, right? You can't say al-mustashfa, you. Al-mustashfa, how do you pronounce it, right? Al-America, where's the you going to come from? Likewise as well, when you have a preposition before, like fi, which means in, or min, which means from, or illa, which means to, fil bayti, in the house. But if I'm in the hospital, we say the doctor's in the hospital. At-tabibu fil mustashfa. Right? You can't say fil mustashfi. Al-rajulu fi America, or min America. The man's from America. ذهب محمد إلى ألمانيا. ذهب محمد إلى ألمانيا. Muhammad went to Almania, which is Germany. Iqra waktub, this read and write exercise, is giving you examples where you have a word which has an alif and lam ending. Has an alif ending, but before it comes a preposition, to see that you don't put the kasra on there. You can't put a kasra on there. We'll look at one, which is the last one. Has the names of 2 prophets, or 2 people whose names are 2 prophets. هذا الكتاب لعيسى وذلك الكتاب لموسى. Isa, the name Isa has a ya ending. The name Musa has a ya ending. So you say this book belongs to Isa, and that book belongs to Musa. Right? هذا المهندس من أمريكا. This engineer is from America. Right? And you can translate the other sentences. The last exercise in this chapter is just a reading exercise, which means to contemplate the grammar here. And it's looking at 2 words. The words are amama and khalfa. Amama means in front of, so it's an adverb of place, or put something in a place. Khalfa means behind, right? So as you can see, there's a mushaf behind me, a Quran. You can say al-mushafu khalf al-mudarrisi. Mudarrisi, right? Takes a kasr ending because of the word khalfa or imama. The word after those two words is majroor bil idafa, is mudaf ilayh. Right? So you can say al-mushafu khalf al-mudarrisi. We can say al-kitabu khalf al-mudarrisi, and you can say wa huwa amam something else, right? Or you can say, in the case of the first sentence, as-saburatu, that's the picture of a sabura, a board, whiteboard. We don't have blackboards anymore. as-saburatu amam al-talibi wa hiya khalf al-mudarrisi. And it is, that it goes back to the word sabura, which is why it's a feminine, because sabura is a feminine word. So the board is in front of the students face the board when they're writing, but this teacher's all standing in front, so وَهِيَ خَلْفَ الْمُدَرِّسِ, and it's behind the teacher. The author in exercise number 3, he gives us a word which looks like amama, just so you don't confuse it, which means al-imam. That's imam, has a kasra at the beginning, and you know that it's got a kasra, it's got the hamza's underneath the alif. But amama, you write that hamza above the alif. And the imam, he's called the imam because he stands amam al-musallin. He stands in front of the worshippers who are going to be praying behind him, right? That's why it's called the imam, because he's at the front. So it says, this question number 3, it says, Ayna baytul imami? Baytul imami khalf al-masjidi. Where's the imam's house? Right, the imam's house is in front of the masjid, right? Also, the other thing is, well, the word imam, it can have a kasra and then a dhamma and then a fatha, and the word amama, it's fixed. It's only got a fatha and then all the time. Khalfa amama, it's fixed. It doesn't change. That's i'rab. What's i'rab? I'rab is when a word changes from having a dhamma ending to a kasra ending, or to a fatha ending, which we don't have here, because of a change, because of something that comes before. Words are two types: words where the endings change, and that's called mu'rab, and words where the endings don't change, and that's called mabni. Mabni, i.e., it's fixed. They're always the same, regardless of its position in a sentence. When you're studying grammar, as I mentioned before, you're studying the mu'rab words that change, as well as the vocab. So that's that lesson. Now we can move to the grammar for lesson number 9. As we usually do, we read the grammar first, and once we've read the grammar, then we're going to look at the text, go through the text, highlight the grammar points, and then leave the exercises for the next lesson, inshallah. Let's have a look at the grammar points. Remember, today's lesson number 9 is an important lesson. It's quite a big lesson. There's even a part A and a part B to this lesson, so you can see it's quite important. And what it speaks about is how you describe nouns. How you describe nouns. I can say this. I can say a small book. I can say a book. Hada kitabun. This is a book. Hada kitabun. This is a book. Right? But that's not saying much about it. People want a description. Right? People want a description. They want to know, is it a small book? Is it a big book? Is it a good book? Is it a beneficial book? A good book. The good book. Right? These good books. Right? These are all adjectives. Right? You use adjective to describe the book. How do you do that in Arabic? And what's the grammar for adjectives? What's the terminology called? And what adjectives what are the rules basically? That's what we're going to be learning in lesson number 9. It's a big lesson. It's got 2 parts and it's very beneficial. So let's go pay attention. Okay, it says in this lesson, the adjective in Arabic. All right, that's the first thing. It's the adjective in Arabic. Number 1, the adjective. This is point number 1. The adjective follows the noun it qualifies. In other words, it comes afterwards. In English, you say the small book or a small book, a new house. The adjective comes before the noun. that it's speaking about, right? In Arabic, it's the opposite way round. You have jadidun, which is the adjective, meaning new, coming after the bait, after the house, right? So that's the first thing. The adjective comes after. So you say baytun jadidun, a new house, right? A new house. And if you was to translate that phrase, literally you say a house new. That's one. Number two, what's the second point? He gives you the terminology. What's the terminology? How do you describe each word? The first, the adjective is called na'tun. It's a description of the noun it qualifies, which is called man'utun. Na'tun, man'utun. Say the word na'tun, man'utun. The nat is the adjective and the man'ut is the noun which it qualifies. Okay, it describes. There's another word which is used for nat, and that's called sifatun. So the word sifa is used for nat, and for man'ut sometimes the word mawsuf is used. Mawsuf. Na'tun wa man'utun or sifatun wa mawsufun. Both of them are acceptable used terminology. So number one, the adjective follows the noun. Number two, what each one is called, the nat and the man'ut. Number three, now we get to the detailed grammar. Which is point number three. The adjective is in agreement with the noun, or the nat is in agreement with the man'ut in the following matters. Let's put a number next to that. The following four things, right? The author mentions three here because we are yet to study plural and dual. But we're going to mention all four because, inshallah, when we come across it, we're going to repeat it anyway. Number one, it has to agree in gender. I.e., if the adjective is, or if the noun is masculine, you use a masculine form of the adjective, and if the noun is feminine, use a feminine form of the adjective. The example we did before, baytun, is that masculine or feminine? It's masculine, so the word jadidun has to be the masculine version of that adjective. Example, a small boy, that's the first one, and a small girl. Waladun saghirun, bintun saghiratun. Right, so the word here, saghir, has a tar mabut at the end because it's describing a feminine object or person, and here there's no tar marbuta because it's describing a boy, so it doesn't need a feminine marker. A new car, sayaratun jadidatun. A new book, kitabun jadidun. So that's the first thing. That adjective has to agree with the gender of the noun that it qualifies. The second one is it has to agree with it being definite or indefinite. What that means is, does it have alif and lam at the beginning of it or not? Or is it, for example, a proper noun, name of a person, because that's also definite, right? The example he gives, he says here, Bilalun mudarrisun jadidun. So Bilal is a new teacher. So here's the words we're looking for, a new teacher, adjective, nat, and teacher, man'ut. Here it is in Arabic, mudarrisun jadidun, right? So it agrees, i.e., the noun is indefinite, means doesn't have alif and lam at the beginning of it. So the adjective has to also be indefinite. There's no alif and lam at the beginning of that. It says tanween, that has tanween. So it has to agree. Here's another example, but this time both words are definite. Al-mudarrisu al-jadidu al-mudarrisu al-jadidu fil fasli. Right? So because the teacher is definite, it has alif and lam, so you know it's definite. The word jadid has to also have alif and lam at the beginning of it and be definite because it has to agree in definite. So number one, it agrees in gender. Number two, it agrees in it being definite or indefinite. Number three is the case. What does it mean by the case? The case really speaks about the i'rab. Is this word got a marfu ending, or a mansub ending, or a majroor ending? That's what it means by case, and you'll see that here. This is a new house. هذا بيت جديد. مرفوع ending, مرفوع ending. They both have ضمتين. أنا في بيت جديد. Look how it's changed. The baitin is majroor because of fi. So because of that, jadidin also has to be majroor. It has to agree in case ending. And likewise as well, al-baytul jadidu. they're both marfu, but because they're both definite. Man fil bayt al jadidi, they're both majroor, but because they're both definite, they don't take a tanween. The fourth the fourth thing which is important in this topic of nat and man'ut, which he hasn't mentioned, that they have to agree in, or D. What do they have to agree in? They have to agree in something called number. And what does it mean by number? Number, words are either in Arabic singular, in Arabic that's mufrad, or they are jul. You have two of something, right? Two books. So you have kitabun, you have kitabani, two books, right? Or you have three or more books, in which case it becomes kutub, kutubun, right? Three or more books. So you have kitabun 1, kitabani, kutub. The author covers that in lessons number, I think 11 and 12 are coming up. So that's plural, but he hasn't covered it yet, so he doesn't mention it here. However, the fourth one, or the D, it has to agree in number, being if the word is either singular, if the noun is singular, the adjective has to be singular. If the noun is dual, the adjective which describes it has to also be dual. And if the noun is plural, the adjective that describes it also has to be in the plural form. It has to agree in number. And there's an exception for that. The author is going to go into it later. So that's called natun wa man'utun, or sifatun wa mawsufun, how you describe a noun with an adjective, and the grammar relate to that. The last thing is some adjectives, they don't take tanween. Even if they don't have an alif and lam, they don't take tanween. One example are adjectives which end in alif and nun, originally part of the word, not additional. Because you heard me say kitabani, but that's not part of the word. That alif and nun shows that it's dual. This word kaslanu, on the pattern of fa'lanu, it's got alif and lam at the end of it. Because of that, there's no tanween, right? So you can say talibun kaslanu, a lazy student. You won't put tanween on it because this word cannot have a tanween ending, full stop. You say, for example, mudarrisun jaw'anu, a hungry teacher. Al-mudarrisul jaw'anu, the hungry teacher. Okay, what about me? I haven't finished the sentence, right? Atshanu means thirsty. Ghadban, angry. Mal'an means full up. So these words, they don't have a tanween ending. It means when they're describing a noun, you still, even if the noun has got a tanween ending, that word won't have a tanween ending. Okay, vocab. What's the vocab? The vocab here, you have words. Let's start from this column here and work our way. Al-Ingliziyya, the language, English language. Sa'bun, difficult. Al-Madinatu, the city. Al-Qahira, Cairo, in Egypt. Al-Yawm, today. Limadha, why? Again, you have two words. So you have madha, which is what, but then you have li, asking questions, reasoning, right? That lam shows a reason for something. Limadha, why? Remember, you have question words. Why? Who, which is man. What, which is ma or madha. You have when, which is meta. Right? You have whose, which is liman. Right? Whose pen is this, for example? And you have others. These are some of the main ones. Al-Kub, cup. Al-Fakiha, going to the next column now, which is fruit. Al-Usfur, Al-Ta'ir, Al-Arabiya, Al-Lughatu, Sahlun, Mujtahidun, Shahirun. This is the vocab you have to practice, you have to learn, and the best way you're going to learn is by reading a lot. So that's the grammar and the vocab for lesson number 9. Let's have a look at the actual lesson, read it, and pick out those grammar points that we've just discussed from the lesson itself. There's a question and it says, Man hadha rajulu? Who's this man? Right? Huwa Abbas. He is Abbas. Abbasun tajirun. Abbas is a tajir. Abbasun tajirun ghaniyun. Abbas is a rich tajir. Tajir means businessman, right? So as you can see, look how it's built up. Who is this man? This is Abbas. Abbas is a student. Abbas is a businessman. Abbas is a rich businessman, right? You get more information now. Second group of questions. Hamidun mudarris. Hamid is a teacher. Hamidun mudarrisun jayyid, or jadidun, excuse me. Hamid is a new teacher. مدرس جديد. So it's a new teacher. So now you get more information about Hamid. So it restricts it more. It's like it restricts it so you know it specifies it more. Like هذا restricts it to one particular book. مدرس جديد restricts it to a teacher who is good, right? ما هذا, what's this? هذا تفاح. This is an apple. What is an apple? التفاح فاكهة لذيذة. The apple is a tasty fruit, right? فاكهة is the adjective, is the noun, and it's been described by saying لذيذة. Okay, so when you look at this, there's two types of nouns, and this is important. You have a noun which is either masculine or feminine. It's an object, is a thing. It's always been masculine. You have nouns which describe objects or people. The nouns which describe objects, they can be either masculine or feminine. جديد. Okay, it's a description. If you're describing a book, it's جديد. If you're describing a watch, it becomes جديدة. But the book is always masculine, the watch is always feminine. But the adjective can change from masculine to feminine, depends on what you're describing. ما ذلك, what's that? ذلك عصفور. That's an عصفور, which is العصفور طائر صغير. عصفور is a small bird. العربية لغة سهلة. العربية لغة سهلة. So look, because لغة is feminine, the word سهلة has to agree in gender. طائر is masculine, the word صغير has to agree in the gender. It has to also be masculine. فاكهة, fruit. What type of fruit? It's a nice fruit. لذيذة has to agree in the gender. They have to both be feminine. So there has to be agreement in gender. There has to be agreement in number. They're both singular. There has to be agreement in alif and lam. They're both indefinite. None of them have alif and lam on it. And there has to be agreement in case ending, which we're going to see on this page. Inshallah, I think it's on this page. Or maybe it's not this page. It's in the exercises. العربية لغة جميلة. Arabic is a beautiful language. العربية لغة جميلة. عمار طالب مجتهد ومحمود طالب كسلان. Amar is a hard-working student. Mahmoud is a lazy student. من أنت? Who are you? أنا طالب. I'm a student. أنت طالب جديد? Are you a new student? نعم أنا طالب جديد. Yes, I'm a new student. Okay, so here كسلان. Let's have a look at this sentence. Actually, in more detail. Let's bring it down, make it bigger so you can see it. Let's first of all translate it. Wow means and. Mahmoud is the name of the person. Talibun kaslana. This is the na'at al-man'ud. Ta is and Mahmoud is a lazy student. Okay. The word lazy is called the nat. Student is called the man'ud. Right? And as you can see, it comes after the noun it describes. This is a nat. And then this is the man'ud. Okay, they have to agree in four things. What are they? Number one, case ending. Case ending. Okay, but then number two, definite, indefinite. Definite or indefinite. Talibun is indefinite. Kaslan is also indefinite. The fact that it hasn't got two tanweens is only because it's one of the words that end in alif and lam, so they never take tanween. Right? They're both masculine. This is masculine, this is masculine, and they're both singular. So you have four things they have to agree in. Number one, gender. Number two, number. So that talks about whether it's singular or plural. Number three, definite, indefinite. And number four is going to be case ending. Both take Dhamma. Case ending. These four they have to always agree on. And they have to always agree on noun. So that's the text and that's the vocab. So now what you have to do is read and write these sentences and then go on to doing the exercises. Fill in the blank in each of the following sentences with a suitable adjective. Khadijatu talibatun. Khadija is a student. What type of student is she? You're going to fill in an adjective. So she's a hard-working student, but because it's feminine, mujtahidatun. You have to have a feminine marker, so it has to agree in gender. Continue with the rest of these exercises. Exercise number 3, it says choose a suitable word with a suitable man'ut. Now you're speaking the noun, right? Ana something qadimun. Okay, you're picking the man'ut here, the subject, the noun that's to be described. Ana talibun qadimun. I'm an old student, been here a long time. As if it's feminine, then obviously it has to be a feminine word that you're going to put in that space. Then number 4, it says read. What is it saying? It's showing you that these words, which is kaslanu, which means lazy, jaw'anu, it means hungry, atshanu, thirsty, mal'anu, they all have the same pattern and they all end in alif and noon. And when they end in alif and noon, they don't take tanween, even though they don't have alif and lam at the beginning of it. For example, if you look at this number 2, it says anta jaw'anu, la ana atshan. Are you hungry? No, I am thirsty. لماذا المدرس غضبان اليوم? غضبان is also one there. It's not up there yet, but you can put it up there. غضبان, angry. Why is the teacher angry today? الكوب ملآن. The cup is full, right? So that's lesson number 9, looking at adjectives and their qualifying nouns, or the nouns that they qualify. Alif, right? Ba, it looks at the same thing, but in this time it's using nouns and adjectives that have alif and lam at the beginning of it. In the last one it was indefinite. Now it's looking at when those are used indefinite nouns. And inshallah, with that, today we're going to stop the lesson because it's now 30 minutes. And the lessons are purposely kept short and snappy to the point. So inshallah, you can always recap and it's not going to be too long to do so. The main thing is you go through the exercises, all the read and writes you do where it says read or write. You also translate it. And inshallah, if you've got any questions, then use the portal to send a question, inshallah, or perhaps use a Telegram group, and inshallah somebody will get back to you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.